Alright, so everyone knows that Trump won by now, despite social media pushing the lie that he only had 1% chance or whatever it was. Now all these stories are coming out about all these things that are happening to non-Trump supporters, and at least before the election, these stories were believable. Now it's like maximum overdrive. So I have the audacity to log into Facebook for just 1 minute to see 50,000 articles blasted in my face from all my educated college friends. Stuff like this gay guy getting attacked for simply being gay out of nowhere, how some Muslim in Walmart needs to hang herself with her little scarf, how some Trump supporters basically mugged this woman in the street and shouted all this stuff at her, how 4 guys out of nowhere just assault this woman at a gas station with a gun talking about how much they hate black people, how not even 24 hours after the election, apparently people are pulling knives on Muslims on buses, about how Jews are getting gassed down in the street. Oh, wait, that was actually me making up the most ridiculous story I could think of, and somehow it was taken seriously. Every day these past few days I get tagged in something on Facebook. I load it up and before I can even click on the thing I want to see, I get all this trash, all this garbage shared by these uni kids. They scroll through their feed, they see this and go, "Oh my god, this gay guy was beaten, gotta smack that free share button." So everyone spreads this story, and see, the problem is 30,000 people retweeted this. More than 30,000 people have seen this story and now think that someone was beaten for being gay by Trump supporters or whatever. But you know what they won't see? You know what they won't retweet? All the debunking, all the red flags that come up with this story. Now, honestly, I won't say with 100% certainty this didn't happen, but I can say with 100% certainty that it didn't happen the way it was made out to be. First, he can't even remember the bar he was at because he was so drunk. I mean, okay. Next, his friend said they were on a date, which could be true, but Ball himself never really mentions that. He said he was at a bar watching the election. I mean, he could be on a date, but it was never mentioned that there was another guy there. Also, they seem to have taken him to a hospital that is at best 27 miles away when there's 2 or 3 other hospitals that are much, much closer. So already the location details are kind of sketchy. If that wasn't enough, the police say they had no record of anything like this happening, which I mean, if someone beats you with a beer bottle, the first thing I'm doing is calling the police, not taking a picture. There's also his hospital visit where he has no wristband and you can see there's no blood on his watch somehow. Lastly, he did provide a document that was supposed to show he actually did go to the hospital. It does look legit, but a lot of people are saying they wouldn't give you just Tylenol for something like that. They would prescribe more potent painkillers, etc. I honestly think there's a ton of stuff missing from this story. I think maybe he did get an injury. I don't think it was because he was gay though. It seems too perfect. I'll let you guys decide that though. Thankfully for us, the rest of these hate crime stories are a lot more blatant. Now we have this woman, she says some lady came up to her at Walmart and pulled off her scarf telling her to hang herself with it. And look at that. 14,000 shares. Well, let's look at her case. So, she doesn't want to do an interview. The police haven't reported any crimes. Walmart has been trying to contact her. Versions of this story are being deleted off Facebook. I mean, if you're so ready to blast this out on public channels like Facebook, I think you should be prepared to assist people in finding proof of it happening. Walmart has cameras. I'm pretty sure she's honestly just hiding from that because she doesn't want them looking into it. They could easily pull up footage of that day. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't even go that day. Anyways, again, a story claiming something really bad happening, and when asked for more proof, or when people came out trying to help her get proof, she sinks away into a hole. She's perfectly fine with telling Facebook about it though, just not the police or Walmart or anyone that could prove her wrong. Now, this is where it gets really good. This Muslim woman claims that 2 people called her racist stuff, beat her up, and stole a bunch of her stuff. Basically, she was mugged by Trump supporters while they said a bunch of stuff to her. This is the police report. However, it was blasted on all these social media sites about how 2 Trump supporters beat up some poor Muslim lady. Except that wasn't the case at all. She literally just made it all up, pulled it out of thin air. After the police pushed further into her story, she cracked and admitted it was all just a hoax. It's too late though. Everyone's already shared the stories. Everyone's already shared how this poor Muslim girl got jumped by evil Trump supporters. I've also seen this whole woman at a gas station thing that seems to have been circling around a lot. This lady claims that 4 guys came out of their car talking about how much they hate black people and love Trump, and all this stuff that sounds like a scene taken out of a movie. Anyway, she says one of them threatened her with a firearm, and that's where the story ends. Well, fast forward to the next day, where she says that all of them were arrested, and she knows their names, but won't tell anyone. Now, I tried to get to this post, but it looks like she deleted everything, so I can't. I'm just repeating what this news article is saying here. Go to the next day, Friday, and the police say this: "We haven't heard from the victim, any witnesses, or store owner." They later post a longer post about how basically nothing has been reported at all, and asking her about it has gotten no reply. A couple more news channels have actually reached out to her for comments, but they haven't heard back. So again, someone is so ready to tell the world about all the hate they've seen, yet when it comes to give any proof, she just dips. It's almost like there's a pattern here, but yet again, the thing is, tons of people shared that story. Tons of people believed it. It's helping this false reality that the media is trying to create. Then this girl is saying that her sister, who's a Muslim, has had this knife pulled on her on a bus. 28,000 people, 28,000 more people think this happened. Well, it turns out it was never reported to the police, as they replied to her on her own tweet. She says she will get to it right away, and we never hear about this story ever again. We don't hear anything from the police, we don't hear anything from her. People have been asking her about it, she's just ignored it. It's like a cycle now. Just make some outrageous claim that someone did something terrible and that they're a Trump supporter, get thousands of retweets, and then when asked for proof or to elaborate further, just run away and hide because the damage has already been done. Like I said, these people are creating a false reality where Trump supporters are going out and doing these evil things. If Trump supporters were really this bad, you wouldn't have to make up all these stories making them look bad. You've essentially created this small reality of hysteria and craziness to the point where I can post the most ridiculous story I can think of and people actually believe it. Just think how ridiculous that sounds. I know there's been crazy news and I know there's terrible people out there, but you're supposed to doubt it at first and then verify with proof. The first thing you should think when you hear Trump supporters are gassing Jews in the street with cans of Raid is, no way, that's impossible. Not a sad face, not someone explain this, not how terrible. There's tons of people out there saying I was a liar, which, I mean, they're correct. I was trying to make the most ridiculous story, but, you know, it's kind of sad that people don't see it as a parody and people see it as me lying. It's just ridiculous that the most outrageous story I could think of is actually being discussed as if it actually happened. You know, this reminds me of a little something where people just threw out wild accusations and people believed them. Something called the Salem witch trials. And we all know how that ended, believing any wild accusations regardless of proof, spreading the story around and all that. Yeah, awesome. I just really felt like making this video after about the millionth time seeing one of these ridiculous stories, with each one seemingly more and more crazy and unbelievable being shared all over social media without a single thought or question. Now, I'm not gonna pretend. I know both sides do this. I know both sides engage in this behavior. And I would love to do a video on these stupid, terrible stories coming from the other side, but I haven't seen any on Facebook or Twitter. I see the usually Fords from Grandma thing claiming Obama's the Antichrist, but I think it's safe to say everyone knows that's completely untrue, that's false. We inherently push that sort of stuff away. We all know that it's just those people, but when it comes to these stories, I see people I know, people that aren't really into politics sharing these stories even. And these stories also don't spread like cancer all over Facebook and Twitter. They're usually just through email and they're confined to a certain amount of people, which I think is a lot less damaging because it's not the normal person, the average everyday person getting these. You know what people don't share on Facebook though? They don't talk about the guy getting beat up with a woman saying he's a Trump supporter, get him, or any of these Trump voters that were subject to violence for simply voting for who they choose. You won't see that on Facebook shared by all your millennial college friends. No, you'll see some text story that's so warped and so unbelievable, yet people still share it. I mean, it's just so warped that you have actual video evidence showing hate against Trump supporters, but what gets shared and what gets talked about are mere fabricated stories about how terrible Trump supporters are. I guess what I'm really trying to say is don't believe every story you see on social media. Look into it no matter who posted it, and if in reality it was as bad as people are trying to make it out to be, they would have videos. They wouldn't have to rely on these Facebook stories that coincidentally get deleted the next day when police ask about it.